I'm here to support you today in what to do when you either forgot to set a boundary or you didn't manage to enforce it, how to come back to a place of self-forgiveness. So coming to your collarbone and just dropping down to those 2 sore points, gently massaging in there while you take a big deep breath into your belly. Exhaling with a sigh. And then repeat back what I'm saying, changing any of the words as you need to. And it's good to say it out loud. I didn't put a boundary between the eyebrows. I tried to put a boundary. Tapping the temples. I didn't know I needed a boundary here. In the cheekbones. I love and accept myself, even though I didn't put a boundary. Deep breath. Tapping under the nose. I've been feeling really angry. Under the lips. I've been justifying their behavior. To the chest. Feeling ashamed. Onto the ribs. Saying that it's my fault. To the side of the ribs. Starting to feel like a victim. Deep breath. Tapping to the wrist. I've been blaming them. Backside of the hand. It's so much easier just to blame them. Top of the head. It's their fault. Between the eyebrows. They should be psychic. In the temples. They should be able to read my mind and know what is best for me. Deep breath. Tapping the cheekbones. It would be so much easier if it worked that way. Tapping under the nose. Because I feel uncomfortable putting boundaries. Under the lips. I feel uncomfortable putting boundaries. Tapping the chest. I love and forgive myself. Front of the ribs. I love and forgive myself for feeling uncomfortable putting boundaries. Side of the body. I love and forgive myself for feeling uncomfortable putting boundaries. Deep breath. To the wrist. It's okay that I feel uncomfortable here. To the back side of the hand. I forgive myself for feeling uncomfortable. Deep breath. Tapping to the back side of the hand. It's completely understandable why I've been struggling with boundaries. To the top of the head. When I was a child, no one really paid attention to my boundaries. To the eyebrows. When I was a child, no one really listened to my boundaries. Deep breath. Tapping to your temples and think about that for a moment. And maybe it was when you were a child, maybe when you were a teenager. What did you learn about boundaries? What did you see in your parents? Did they have awesome boundaries? Tapping to the cheekbones. Did your mum have no boundaries at all when it came to her friends? What about your dad and his work? Tapping under the nose. And do you start to see how as a child, you just absorbed that. You just thought that's how boundaries were. And tapping under your lips. And so you've just been mimicking and copying their behavior, following their example. Tapping to the chest, deep breath. I forgive myself for learning about boundaries from people that didn't have fantastic boundaries. Front of the ribs. And I'm open to forgiving my parents or other people who raised me for struggling with boundaries too. Deep breath. I'm open to forgiving everyone who taught me improper boundaries. Side of the body. Who gave not great examples. Tapping to the wrist. I'm reclaiming my power here. Back side of the hand, deep breath. I'm reclaiming my power around boundaries. Top of the head. I'm learning how to communicate my boundaries. Doing the eyebrows. I'm learning that it's okay to have boundaries. The temples. It's safe for me to have boundaries. To the cheekbones. And I forgive myself for taking this many years to get here. Tapping under the nose. I'm learning how to put boundaries. Under the lips. I'm learning how to put boundaries, and it's okay that I'm still learning. Deep breath. And tapping to the chest. I'm learning how to put boundaries, and that's okay. I forgive myself for not setting this boundary more clearly. Side of the body. I forgive myself for not setting this boundary more clearly. Tapping the wrist. Or I forgive myself for not knowing I had a boundary here. And waiting until I was angry and upset to discover that I needed to put a boundary. And tapping the back side of the hand for a moment. So just having a think, if you could redo this situation, what boundary do you think that you could put in place that would make things go better? You might want to just pause the video for a moment and just like journal, grab a piece of paper or pen, or maybe tap to the end and then have a think about this. So for example, if a friend says, oh, I'd like to come stay over. And you're like, yeah, sure. And you don't put any boundary. And then maybe 2 weeks later, 3 months later, they're still at your house, eating your food, like hogging the telly remote control, and you realize like, wow, the boundary that I could have put in place was, you're welcome to come for 2 nights. So at whatever point in your evolution that you realize like, oh, I'm angry and upset with someone, stopping at that moment and thinking, what boundary has been crossed here? What request could I have made which would have made things stay harmonious and amicable? Taking a deep breath. Tapping to the top of the head. So just have a think about that for a moment in the situation that you're in. You got something? In between the eyebrows. It's safe for me to learn retroactively. Tapping to the temples. It's safe for me to learn later. Cheekbones. So that I can do things differently next time. Tapping under the nose. This is how I'm reparenting myself. Under the lips. And getting clear on my boundaries. Deep breath. Chest. And it's okay that I'm still learning and discovering here. Run to the ribs. I can always ask myself, what boundary has been crossed? What request could I have made? Deep breath. Tapping to the side of the body. And I forgive myself for crossing my own boundaries. Tapping to the wrist. I'm learning to enforce them. Back side of the hand. I'm learning to enforce my boundaries. Deep breath. It's safe for me to set boundaries. Top of the head. It's safe for me to set boundaries. Between the eyebrows. Boundaries are my self-care. Between the temples. Boundaries are a way for me to love myself. And to the cheekbones. Boundaries allow me to love others. Under the nose. Boundaries allow me to maintain long-lasting friendships and connections. Deep breath. To the lips. Boundaries allow me to maintain long-lasting friendships and connections. To the chest. And I'm learning to be kind, gentle, and loving with myself. As I set these boundaries. Onto the ribs. As I learn how to set loving boundaries, I'm kind and gentle with myself. Forgiving myself. Feeling compassion for myself. Staying relaxed and in my body. Deep breath. And then just tapping all over your body and saying any other nice, kind things to yourself. I love you, you're doing a great job. Thank you.